Welcome back to Sports Talk. Doug Miles, Don Henderson with you today. And Don, we got a very special guest joining us on the line today. Of course, you as a broadcaster up there, I'm sure you covered this team back in 1996. Jim Leyritz hit the big home run in the World Series against the Atlanta Braves, and since then he's had some things going on with his life, and he's written about it in his new book called Catching Heat. We're joined by Jim the King Leyritz today. How are you, Jim?
Good. How are you guys doing today?
Doing well. And first of all, congratulations on the book. Obviously, the story about you in the headlines for the last couple of years, the sad part of the story, but this book kind of gives you a chance to set things straight, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It was a situation where I had already began to write a book in 2007 just about my experiences of never being drafted, making it to the big leagues, beating all the odds to do that. And then eventually in 2003, when I was faced with the decision to come back and either play baseball after coming back from surgery or come home, I was going through a divorce and my ex-wife couldn't take care of the kids, to come home and give up the game and come home and take care of them and give them a chance to live their dreams, shows that. But then just as we were writing that and getting that ready, unfortunately I was involved in the accident that unfortunately took a woman and was passed away and unfortunately was charged with DUI manslaughter and DUI, a couple other charges that I had to wait till 3 years to be able to get in front of a jury and a judge to be able to prove that I was not responsible for that. And kind of during those 3 years, I had met a few people through different organizations, different churches that I was speaking at, and a woman came up to me one day and said, listen, I think your story is important for people to hear, and you could reach out and maybe help a lot of people. What you think about writing a book? And I said, well, I've already had one in the works. It's a little different than, like a spiritual book or an inspirational book, but it was more about beating the odds of making it to the big leagues. She said, well, I think the story you have now can reach a lot of people, and I think if you're willing to put your life out there and not be afraid to put everything out there, that you could help a lot of people. And so I decided to sit down and write the book.
Jimmy, tremendous highs and tremendous lows, as you said. They go all the way from not being drafted to hitting a home run in the World Series for the New York Yankees, and that had to be a tremendous high, maybe the highlight of your entire life, other than your children, and then to have all the problems after that. And I guess it's apropos to talk to you today because Lindsay Lohan had that bracelet taken off her leg yesterday. It didn't last 17 hours before she was back in trouble again. So it's not the easiest thing in the world to try to correct your life.
Well, exactly. I think for me it's been more not so many problems as just situations that have changed the direction my life was going in. Like I said before, just as I was ready to come back after taking a year off of baseball, actually 2 years off, I was faced with a situation where my children wouldn't have had anybody to take care of them, and I would have been on the road a lot. Chose to give that up and come back and take care of them. And then just as life was getting back in order and I was very successful in the TV and radio industry, and getting ready to move my children a month after the accident, we were going to be moving to New York full-time to live up in New York. And unfortunately, like I said, the accident happened and put those plans on hold. And now we're 3 years later, and now I have the opportunity to go out to California and start my life over again out there. And right now I'm coaching over here in Newark with the Bears, and Tim Raines, one of my former teammates, for the summer. But then once this is over with, get back to California and really give these kids a stable home.
Well, you're only about 40 minutes from me. I'm on the Jersey Shore down in Seagirt, and I've been up there to Newark many, many times. And I'll tell you, for folks that are listening around the country, that have never been, you hear a lot of bad things about Newark, but I'll tell you, the new Rock Center, they did a tremendous job there, and the ballpark where you participate is really an outstanding minor league ballpark.
Yeah, it's one of the things, you look at some of the situations where Cleveland was not one of the greatest towns to to where the ballpark was originally put up in Baltimore and a few of those areas, and you've seen what that has done to inject the city as far as cleaning the areas up and really making them nice and safe for people. This is what Mayor Booker is trying to do with Newark right now, and the Bears are a part of that, and we're hoping that we can inject some life back into it and make people feel safe to come out here again and put a good product on the field at the same time.
Well, putting the pack together was a gigantic move a little bit before Booker's time, but he's picked up the gauntlet from there. And, of course, the NBA draft at the Prudential Center the other day, along with the NCAA tournament and the things that have been happening in the last 3 or 4 months, really a shot in the arm for the entire area. And I know that you and Reigns are going to do a great job of putting together a ball club that's going to be very, very, very interesting.
Yeah, we have a coaching staff with Timmy, and also Ron Karkovice, who played for the White Sox for several years.
Oh, yeah.
That this is a coaching staff that you don't find even in some of the best minor leagues. And we have that here in the independent league out here. And it's just a great opportunity for these kids that come here that kind of live the same kind of life that I started off as not being drafted, but being overlooked, and having to find some way to just find somebody to take an interest in you. We have a lot of kids on this club that are like that, and I'm hoping that through my abilities to be able to help them coach and the experiences that the three coaches have, that we can get a few of these kids back to the minor leagues and possibly the major leagues.
So that fits right in with your book.
Exactly. It was a perfect fit. Tom Setner, who was one of the owners, was the general manager when I played here in 2001. And him and I had a great relationship, and we've developed a friendship through all the years. When everything was over with, he was the first one to pick up a phone and call me and say, listen, I talked to Timmy, and he wants you here to coach. We want to give you the chance to get back on the field and get your life back in order. And it was a great opportunity for me, and I've been up here now since May and really enjoying what we're doing.
Down with Jim Leyritz. The name of the book is called Catching Heat. And Jim, you say you're going out to California after the baseball season this year. Are you planning to get back into baseball or broadcasting?
Yeah, it depends. Really, whatever God leads me to. The bottom line is, I met a lady that 2 years ago that I'm going to be getting married to, and starting my life out there in Rancho Santa Margarita. So. It's a beginning, and of course I have ties to the Padres, to the Angels and the Dodgers. So I'm hoping that eventually something next year will come about with one of those teams, whether it be in the major leagues or minor leagues. But just restarting my life and giving my kids, like I said, a stable place to know that they're safe, to be able to come home to every day, and the opportunity to get an education. And like I said, to me, that's the most important thing for my life right now.
Well, you certainly need that kind of a little push behind you, and I know Wally Bachman was looking very, very much to get back with the New York Mets as far as being in the mix for managing, and it's not the easiest thing in the world, and somebody has to have a little confidence in you that you've turned the corner and you're moving in a different direction.
Exactly, and that's just it. Right before this accident, I was out there speaking and talking to groups and kids, and just about never giving up on your dreams and always believing that you can make it no matter what people say, and beating the odds. And I'm hoping that this one incident that unfortunately occurred, and I made the mistake of getting behind the wheel of a car and having a few drinks, and I'm hoping that I can get out there and talk to kids and colleges and stuff about that and the mistakes that makes and how quickly life can change. But at the same time, when you go through something tragic like this and you realize that the costly mistakes, drinking and driving, text messaging and driving, and not wearing a seatbelt can cause, I'm just hoping that I can get out there and speak to people again and just change a few lives and save a few lives, and see what happens. And like I said, through this experience, somehow just make it a positive.
Well, Jim, you also talk about in the book not only the situation of the legal thing you had to go through, but one of your sons who's battling a couple of serious illnesses as well, the marriage situation. I mean, how do you handle something like that when all kind of converges on you at once? It really tests your faith, I guess, doesn't it?
Well, that's just it, and that's kind of what the book is about. My father and mother were very religious. They brought me up with the church, and I strayed from it many times during my career, and with all the temptations of the major leagues and professional athletes go through, and eventually each time found my way back somehow. And that's where I'm at right now, is to be able to get through those 3 years and through the difficult times, was just finding my faith again and believing that there's a purpose and a reason for everything. And it's like I said in the book. The bottom line is I didn't learn a lot from my successes, but I learned a lot from my failures. And what we learned from that, sometimes we're in situations we don't want to be in or we don't choose to be in, but God has a reason to put us in there and to learn from that. And when you go through an experience that I did, number one, just professionally, but also the accident where someone loses their life, 2 kids lose a mother, and my 3 boys, who I was the primary parent of, live 3 years that they don't know from one day to the next whether their father will be there or not. This experience really opens up your eyes and makes you appreciate that you do have, you wake up every morning and you do have a breath and you have life, and it makes you a better person to moving forward.
Well, I think sometimes people don't realize the personal lives of players, whether after their careers or during their careers. And I think a perfect example this year was Sergei Posada, the operations on his youngster, which has been going on and on for years, and then the difficulty he had in making the adjustments to be a designated hitter, and all the pressures at one time all build up, and I think it was blown a little bit out of proportion. But sometimes your personal life, it's not the easiest thing in the world to just keep doing everything the way it should be done every minute.
Well, exactly. And I can tell you, I was very lucky when my son, who had the same disease as Jorge's son, they both had the craniosynosis disease.
Right.
My son was very fortunate that he only had to have the one surgery because most of his damage his fusion was in the back of his skull, whereas Jorge's son had it in the front. So every time he grows or something happens, they have to go back in and do more cosmetic surgery, to make things look normal, and that's the unfortunate thing that he goes through. And I can tell you right now, I was very fortunate to be out of the game at the time my son went through it, because it does take a huge emotional toll on you whenever you see a kid going through pain and suffering that you can't really just do anything about. You can't except be there and hold his hand and say, you're going to be okay. And it's a very difficult time, and of course, like you said, Jorge was going through some other transitions professionally that made it even more difficult for him.
And they said that this possibly could be the final operation, and this has been a long procedure for him.
Yes, exactly. I mean, like I said, the fusion was his was in the front of the head, and therefore the cosmetic stuff had to be continuous.
Jim, what kind of reaction have you gotten so far to the book from, I guess, Yankee fans must come up to you? Do they still talk more about baseball, or do they talk more about some of the trials you've had to go through?
Well, I think, what it does is it opens up a lot of eyes. A lot of my fans and a lot of readers that read the book will see that, what they originally saw on Google and when you do everything else and you look up what was printed and the way the media covered it was not even close to the truth. And that's one of the things that I think God blessed me a little bit with the opportunity to write this book, is to get that entire truth out there for people that did believe in me, people that did look up to me and realize that, this was an incident, this was an accident, and I did make a mistake of having a couple of drinks and getting behind the wheel of a car, but at the same time, I was not the cause of the accident. And it was just a very unfortunate situation to be a part of. And overall, that there's a lot of lessons to be learned from it. But at the same time, I'm still that guy that they looked up to, and they that made it in New York and had a big moment. And like I said, through my experiences, through what I've gone through, both professionally and personally, that I wrote this book to hope that I can maybe, number one, inspire people to want to live their dreams and reach their dreams like I did, but also to some of the mistakes that were made during that time, not to repeat those and learn from them. And if that happens to a few people, like I said, I'm coaching over here in Newark, and the first thing I did with these guys, I said, here, take this book, learn. You know what? It's a great ride if you make it, but it's also very disastrous if you make some bad decisions. And just try not to make the same mistakes I did.
Doug, we got to have Jimmy give us a rundown of the outlets where the book is available, and give a chance to give a little plug to the locations that maybe he's going to be making an appearance to sign.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's JimLeyritz.com is my website where people can go on the events, and it shows all the book signings, where you can, the Steiner Sports Marketing is carrying the book, the autographed signed books. that you can order right there on the website. But yeah, all those signings and everything else you can go to, and you can see where I'm going to be during the month of July and August.
Jim, just before we let you go, I mean, obviously up in Newark, you're close to Yankee territory there. Do you get a chance to follow the club on a daily basis? Or I know you're working with the Newark Bears, but do you follow them at all?
Oh yeah, no, I keep an eye on everything in the National League and American League, and because eventually I do want to get back to either doing TV and radio, so I try to stay as current as I can with everything. And the Yankees have been very open to me as far as now that everything's over with and everything turned out the way it did. That I'm over there now doing some appearances and doing some work with them like I was doing before the accident happened. And it's been exciting. And of course, we got Derek Jeter, the first Yankee to hit 3,000 hits coming up pretty soon, and that's going to be a big day in Yankee history.
Yeah, I'm going to go up to Trenton and have a chance to see him. It's only about 45 minutes for me to get up to Colombo Field up there where the Thunder play. I'm going to get up this weekend and see Jeter. He's going to make a couple of appearances in Trenton, and hopefully he's going to get back in action on Wednesday. And I'm glad to see that they just took their time, and of course he's smart enough to know you can't come back from that injury too quickly or you're in trouble, because then you're already going to hurt it again.
Exactly. He's not 21 years old anymore. When we get to be a little older, those things don't bounce back quite as quickly.
Well, John, you had a chance probably more than I did to cover the 96 Yankees. I was already down here in Florida, but those were great years back then, the kickoff really of Joe Torre and the Core Four and all those great players that restarted it all off back in 96.
No question about it, and they've got the Core 4 videotapes out now that they're selling, and Jim will tell us it is just so unusual to see one player last that many years with one club, much less four.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a huge tribute to Mr. Steinbrenner. Unfortunately, he passed, but the way he kept that team together, and it was very ironic because in '96, we were wondering after we lost the first two games, and his attitude was, "I'm getting rid of everybody if you guys keep embarrassing me like this." To see what did happen by us going on and winning that World Series and him keeping that the core of that team together as long as he did, and for the success that organization had, and he was all a part of that. And I think that's a tribute to him, and you just got to hope that his two sons that have taken over now are going to carry on that same tradition.
I'll tell you, Lou Piniella and Joe Torre both together for Old Timers Day last Sunday, and they spent a great deal of time. Lou even spent some time winning on TV talking about, going up 2-0 and then dropping that series, and what it meant to his organization and what it meant to the New York Yankees. So they sort of had a chance to refresh memories last Sunday.
Oh yeah, and it's ironic that those two managers, were on the opposite sides of 2-0 deficits, and were able to come back and win and push their team to the next level. So it was a great day, and of course Gene Monahan, who had been there for 50 years and one of the greatest, great trainer, taking care of so many players. It was great to see them give him the tribute and the send-off that they gave him.
Oh, terrific.
Well, the name of the book is Catching Heat. We've been talking with Jim Leyritz. And Jim, really appreciate you taking a few minutes. I know it's probably not easy to have to kind of rehash the negative side of the story so much. I know it helps people, but we do appreciate you telling us the story today, and we look forward to talking to you again sometime.
Well, guys, I appreciate you giving me that opportunity. And like I said, I hope you enjoy the read. And like I said, if we can make a difference in a couple people's lives and they can get a little inspiration from it, that's what it's all about.
Well, good to see that marriage didn't scare you. You're going to jump back in the pool again.
Yes, I met a beautiful woman, and I moved all the way across country for her. So I'm looking forward to the new beginning.
Great. Thank you, Jim.
All right, guys. Thanks.